Spartan fans, welcome back into the Michigan State Spartans Insider Podcast. I'm your beat reporter from Michigan State Spartans on SI Aiden Champion, and we're in week 2 of the college football season. Spartans already off to a 1-0 start. Decent win over Western Michigan. Could have done some things better, but hey, week 1, that's kind of what you expect, especially for a team that's coming off a 5-win season. Not necessarily expected to take a huge leap, although there are some who think that this ceiling is rather high for Michigan State. I'm with them. I do believe that, but there's a reason why it's its ceiling. Do I necessarily think Spartans will reach, say, 10 wins, which is where I'm saying the ceiling at? No, I don't. But I do think that this team has shown a lot of improvement. I don't think anything that we saw in week 1 was necessarily too concerning, except for maybe pass blocking. I thought that was an area that you would have liked to see rather more stable in week 1, especially after the struggles the offensive line had last season. I do think it's very positive, encouraging for Spartan fans that the run game was as good as it was now. Like I talked about in the last episode, the challenge is to continue that. Can you be consistent, carry over that success the rest of the way? And you're going to have to do so this week against Boston College. And this is Michigan State's first real test of the season. And that's a good thing when you consider that for a lot of teams, the first 3 weeks or so, you don't get that challenge. You don't get that test really until conference play starts. Spartans have a huge benefit with having Boston College early on in the season, getting a challenging non-conference opponent. They also have the luxury of having them at home. Last year it was tough playing in that environment in Boston, and you had to, um, that was still a rather young team. It was early in the season, and a new team, a new regime. You were coming off 3 straight wins to start the year. This was your first taste of real adversity. Well, now you've you're familiar with this team. It's not the same team, but you understand kind of what they represent, and it's got same coaching staff, and there are a lot of things still there that you can lean on from last year's matchup, and this one is one that the Spartans want because they know they lost this game on their own last year. Had they just figured some things out and protected the ball and played a relatively cleaner game, they would have won this game. Would have started the season 4-0, and had the rest of the season gone the way it did, would have made a bowl game. So it made a huge difference in the season. That was Michigan State's first loss last year. So, but yes, this will be their first test. Like I said, that's very advantageous to have a test like this to this extent this early in the season. But you're going to find out a lot about Michigan State. Now, I'm not saying you're going to know who this team is through 2 weeks. That's just not the case. But you will know, uh, you will have a better understanding of the jump they made from last year to this year, how this team is different from last year. You can't really tell that based on week 1, especially against an opponent of Western Michigan's caliber. But against Boston College, you'll know, you'll have a pretty good understanding of where this team's at, what its strengths are, and what it needs to improve on. So I do think that this is one of the more crucial games on Michigan State's schedule. I think, when I was looking at the schedule throughout the offseason, I was kind of overlooking this game. I mean, I would mention it, but it was just one of those where I feel like Michigan State, you just considering what happened last year, I feel like this is one you just can't afford to lose, especially if you want to get to where you want to be. So this was one I wasn't necessarily talking about too much. I was looking more so down the line. I really thought that and I still kind of feel this way, that the season will really turn up once you go on the road. And everyone says that's when you really find out what team you've got is first time they leave home. And so that is the case, but I still think this game will be very telling of where this team is at. Can they, if it gets down to it, if it gets close, if it's a tight game going into the fourth, if it comes down to maybe the last 5 minutes or so, can you finish the game? And this team didn't necessarily do that a lot last season. Um, can they do that? Can they build on what they did last week? Like I said, with the run game, your defense overall was pretty solid. Can you have a better pass rush though? Gotta get to the quarterback more. Gotta be a little more disruptive in the backfield. I thought for the most part it was pretty decent what they were able to do in that department, but you'd like to see more of it. And again, it's week one. I don't think you can ask for too much, but we'll definitely need to see more of that this week. Can you limit the turnovers? Can you limit the dumb penalties, the mistakes? Those are all things that this team is going to or can't do, I should say, in order to win this game. Because, like I said, I mean, this team beat itself last season and it knows that. And I think it is very beneficial to know that, to know, hey, we were one or two plays away, one or two fewer mistakes from winning last year's game. So we know that this is going to be an emphasis in this matchup is limiting the mistakes and the turnovers, the penalties, whatnot, playing a rather clean game all around. Um, so you already know right off the bat one of your keys to the game. That's always going to be a key to winning is keeping the mistakes at a minimum. But that's never going to be more true than in this game. So yeah, this really is your first test of the year, I think. Again, you don't know necessarily everything about your team after 2 weeks, but I think if you lose this game, you'll know this really isn't a team that took that much of a leap from last year. Now, you could go on to win, I don't know, 4, 5 straight, but I don't necessarily see that happening, especially with a very tough uh, back-to-back road test with USC Nebraska. Got a bye week in between those two games, but it's going to be two very tough games to start off conference play. Um, and that's a big reason you need to start off 3-0 because there's a good chance you drop both those games on the road. You want to be coming back to East Lansing for homecoming still above 500. And like I said, starting off 3-0 is going to be a big part of that. So we'll know a lot about where Michigan State stands by the end of Saturday's game. Um, I'm interested to see what Aiden Childs does. I know he's still getting some criticism from Friday's game, but I think overall he played a pretty solid game. I mean, he didn't throw a pick. Yeah, he fumbled twice, he lost one, but I don't think the protection was great. You could tell his decision making was a lot better. His comfortability was better. And I think once he gets a little more time in the pocket, once the offensive line is able to give him that, you might start seeing uh, a lot of where Aiden Childs has really improved in terms of his playmaking. So I think that will start Saturday if the offensive line can show improvement in pass blocking. But we'll have to see. And so 7:30 Saturday night, Spartans host Boston College. It's a game they want, the fans want, and I think it's going to be a good one It's going to be exciting. Prime time. And um, yeah, I hope you guys are excited for it. Hope you guys are having a great week. And let me know what you think about this upcoming game. What does Michigan State need to do to win? Do you have concerns about Friday's win? Do you have concerns going into this game? Would love to hear it. As always, you can follow along with all of our content on Michigan State Spartans on SI, giving you tons of daily content, keeping you in the know about your beloved Spartans. And we hope you enjoy following along with all of it because we certainly enjoy providing it. And again, thank you. And we will talk to you next time. Thanks.